As a dedicated military officer returned home after serving overseas for 2 years, there was a sense of anticipation in the air in Washington. It had been long since he had seen his wife, and he couldn't wait to surprise her. His return was kept a secret to make the reunion unforgettable. What would be waiting for him? Jessica Stones glanced at the clock nervously in her apartment every few minutes as she awaited the return of her love, Ross Stone, who has been stationed overseas for 2 years. Her heart raced. She anticipated a beautiful reunion based on the letters, the late-night calls, and the promises of a beautiful reunion. The 32-year-old Jessica had a hard time deciding what to do. In the meantime, Ross's plane had touched down in Washington. In the back of his mind, he was eager to surprise Jessica. To catch Jessica off guard, he kept his return a secret. Couldn't shake the butterflies in his stomach as he approached their apartment. As he turned the key in the lock, the door creaked open. Ross called Jessica's name, but the rooms were empty. Thinking Jessica must be out running errands, Ross forged ahead with his plan undeterred. He arranged the bouquet of flowers he had brought from overseas, placed to complement the floral masterpiece with chocolates, a sweet token of his enduring affection. Ross made himself comfortable in an attempt to feel at home. After 2 years away from American soil, he was finally back. Nevertheless, as the minutes turned into hours, Ross's concern grew. Ross began to panic as he frantically called Jessica's number. Each tone of the phone echoed his growing anxiety. Did she deliberately ignore him? Ross's heart pounded during his debate over whether to take action or wait. Once a joyous occasion, it had turned into an unsettling mystery. Leaving the apartment, he inquired with neighbors, hoping they had seen or heard something. Jessica hadn't been seen or heard from for several weeks. Countless worst-case scenarios were racing through Ross's mind, each more frightening than the last. Returning to the apartment, he clung to the hope that Jessica would walk through the door at any moment. The flowers stood proudly, the chocolates waiting to be shared, but the joyous reunion he had envisioned was suspended in an anxious limbo. When would Jessica return home? He and Jessica had been married for 5 years, and he was away in Afghanistan for 2 of them. In that quiet apartment, Ross Stone sat, surrounded by reminders of love and suspended in a bittersweet anticipation. He looked at their wedding photo when they were young and in love. Ross decided to cool off and take a shower. The water in the shower cascaded down Ross's tense shoulders, washing away the grime of 2 long years spent in service to his country. The bathroom beckoned him, and Ross, oblivious to the impending revelation, stepped inside. The sight that greeted him was beyond his wildest nightmares. A post-it note stuck to the porcelain. His eyes widened in disbelief as he read the damning words. "I just slept with your wife." He felt violated. There was another man in his apartment only moments ago. Anger and rage started to build up inside of him. In a stupor, Ross stumbled over to the bed, the waves of shock beginning to recede, making way for an all-consuming fury. He had to see for himself. Consumed by rage, Ross marched over to Jessica's side of the bed where her pillow held the incriminating evidence. He took a few photos of it as evidence. The trust he had placed in Jessica was shattered, replaced by a searing pain. Everything was a mess, grappling with the mix of emotions churning within. He realized that his wife had cheated on him. Time hung in the air as Ross waited. He drank the champagne down to the last drop, the scent of roses now suffocating, the chocolate is bitter in his mouth. Ross paced the room, contemplating how to confront Jessica when she returned. He wanted to shout at her, he wanted to hit something. The seconds stretched into minutes, and finally the door creaked open. Jessica walked in, unaware of the storm awaiting her. The door stayed open and Jessica entered, her eyes flickering with surprise. Ross locked eyes with the woman he thought he knew so well, ready to unveil the painful truth that lurked in the shadows of their shared life. The woman was scared and didn't say a word. "Surprise," Ross muttered, his voice laced with a mix of anger and hurt. He moved slowly towards her. Jessica's eyes widened, her attempt at feigning innocence failing as she locked eyes with Ross. "Ross, I can explain." she stammered, her voice shaky. Ross scoffed, holding up the damning photo in underwear. "Explain this, Jessica!" Jessica's face paled and panic set in. "Ross, please, I swear I've been framed. I would never betray you." Torn between the love he once felt and the pain of the evidence before him. "Framed? How do you explain this then?" he demanded. The room echoed with the weight of their unspoken words as Ross grappled with the choice before him, whether to trust the woman he loved or accept the painful reality that their relationship might be irreparably broken. Ross decided to file for a divorce. He couldn't accept the idea of living with a cheater. I mean, how could he? Imagine being away, serving your country while your significant other is cheating on you. It took him a while to start recovering from that accident. A few years later, Ross found his way into opening a new chapter of his life, healing from old wounds of the past and living his life to the fullest with no regrets.